All right, we have the rat on its back, and we're going to start the incision right where there's already an opening in the rat skin where they injected silicone to dye, or sorry, latex to dye the arteries and the veins. When you get started, one of the first things that you need to do is separate the skin from the muscle. Muscle in the rat is going to be sort of a kind of a tan reddish color. So this is muscle here, and the skin is being pulled away from it. Pretty much what you're going to do is pull the skin away from the muscle. We're not going to cut much except to extend the incision. So this is a view on the right side of the rat now where the skin has not been separated from the muscle yet. Okay, it's right here. And yes, I know I have a beard, but I'll be okay. So now Mrs. Black is inserting the forceps between the skin and the muscle to separate the muscle from the skin. There's fascia, which is a type of connective tissue that holds the skin and the muscle together.
I'm loosening.
So she's got the probe now between the skin and the muscle, and using the probe to loosen that connection between the skin and the muscle. Lifting the skin as she goes so that she's less likely to go straight through the muscle and into a cavity. So that becomes very important when you get to the abdominal region of the rat, because the abdominal muscles are very, very delicate. Right now we're working on the mid-ventral incision. So we're going to go straight down the middle of the ventral surface of the body. Raise this up a little bit. So we've got more room to work. There we go. The probe is going to be left in there so that we know where to cut and to keep the scissors on top of the probe so that we're less likely to get the point of the scissors into muscle underneath the probe. So only the skin is being cut right there, only the skin. Then you can continue pushing the probe down and using the probe to separate skin from muscle, always keeping the tension up on the skin so that you stay away from getting into any of the muscle. And you'll notice how quick this is going if you follow those simple rules there. So we're going all the way down past the thoracic region, and now getting into the abdominal region where you want to be particularly careful. Now you can really see that fascia, that thin film of connective tissue that's holding the skin to the muscle. Okay, it's like this stuff here is fascia, and all you have to do is just sort of stick something in there between either forceps or the blunt probe to separate the skin from the fascia. If you prepared chicken for dinner before, you should have sort of a sense of how the skin can peel off of the muscle without doing anything to the muscle underneath there. So again, she's putting the probe under the skin and is going to cut through the skin while keeping the probe under the scissors and sort of protecting the muscle underneath there. It's a beautiful technique. We used to joke about having a race to see who could skin the rat the fastest. You'll notice that now we're getting down to where the urethral orifice is, so we're getting down to close to the bottom of the abdominal region. We're going to start to see some fat in here now. kind of like the heart, but not as thick and not as tough. It's much easier to remove fat from the rat than it is from the heart, I think. You can even use your finger to separate the skin from the muscle underneath. I should be wearing my other glasses. There we go. And now what we've got here is abdominal muscle all intact with the skin being pulled off of it. So we have now completed the mid-ventral incision, gotten all the way down to the bottom of the abdominal region. What we need to do now is make some lateral incisions out to the forelimbs or the front legs and the hind limbs or the back legs. Once more, we're going to use the probe to separate the skin from the muscle. Just give us a little bit of cutting room there, and you're going to go all the way to the paw. Because we want to be able to see the muscles of the forelimb, the front part of the front leg there. The flexors and the extensors, muscles that allow you to bring your fingers up or curl them down. I always say that we're going to leave them with mittens and socks. Now that there is where we're starting to get into the cutaneous maximus, which is a really thin muscle that is directly connected to the skin. So as you're removing the skin, try and peel that cutaneous maximus away from the skin. The cutaneous maximus is a muscle that helps move the skin around the body. See, I know the platysma helps raise the fur on the back of the neck, like the ruff on the back of the neck of a dog or a cat. Rats can do that too. It makes them look a little bigger and more fierce. So there you go. The whole front leg is now unwrapped. We've left him with a little mitten. And again, this is the cutaneous maximus, which needs to peel or get peeled directly from the skin. So now we're going to move to the hind limb and do one of those. Once again, you want to get the skin separated from the muscle underneath to give yourself some cutting room. Now she's going to cut down towards the foot and leave him with a sock. If you do this following the directions, you will end up with one complete piece of skin that you can then wrap the rat up with in between your dissection time. Helps keep the muscles moist and hydrated so they don't get dried out and difficult to identify. So now she also is cutting around the genital region so that we leave those structures intact for later. We're going to come back to them later in the dissection. The cut will need to get extended to around the base of the tail as well. So we've done a lateral incision to the front leg and now a lateral incision to the back leg. And then we're going to make a circular incision around the base of the tail to the other side of the body. Okay, show me the fat here.
Should we get this?
Okay. So now you can see some of the fat that is stored around the abdominal region. And we'll end up removing some of that as we get into looking at the muscles. Still using the probe to separate the skin from the muscle and cutting on top of the probe so that we don't disturb any of the muscle underneath. All right, I'm gonna pause this for now and we're gonna come back when we get the other legs uncovered so that we can show you how you bring the skin up over the back of the end. So now we've gotten to the point where the skin is off of the back legs and cut around the base of the tail as well. So we're ready to start peeling the skin up from the back. And this is a little bit easier to do just by hand. Use your fingers to separate the fascia from the muscle. And that's our cutaneous maximus there that has been peeled partially away from the skin. Eventually we're going to move that anyway, but you need to be able to see it. Oftentimes part of it will still be attached to the skin once you get it off the rat. And I can already see some of that there. So now we're all the way up on what's called the nape of the neck. So our little rat now has a cape. And what we're going to do is cut behind the head so that we can remove the skin entirely. It's all in one piece and will make a great covering for the rat in between class time to keep the muscles hydrated, although we will spray them with preservative too to help with that. Now what Mrs. Black is doing is cutting all the way up to the lower mandible because we need to be able to see muscles in the neck region as well. Separating the skin from the masseter, big cheek muscle that helps them bite down on hard things. And she's going to cut all the way up to the ear and then back behind the ear and across to the other side. Okay.
Platysma.
So here we have another muscle called the platysma, and that too is stuck directly to the skin. This is a muscle that we have. It's a broad, flat muscle in the front of the neck. So if you pull the corners of your mouth down like that, you can kind of see it bulge up there. We call it the shaving muscle. So, you know, that you see your dad going, or you're the guy and you're shaving you, do that, you're contracting the platysma there. And now we have a little rat coat, a little shawl for the rat. And on the inside, you can see some of this cutaneous maximus, this muscle that helps the rat flex and smooth its skin over its body. and a bit of the platysma up here on that section. Okay, here's the body of the rat. We'll, clean it up a little bit, get some of this fascia and fat off of there so we can see things more easily, but that's how you skin a rat. So this is black skin, the male rat now. We just wanted to show you how we cut just above where the penis is and then down around the scrotum, leaving that intact, and then back around the base of the tail. Okay, so very similar to the female, just not going quite so far down because there's more down there.